Hey, if I ever see you in the ring, I can beat you, don't you know? Welcome to the Old Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, CW. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to hit that bell on YouTube and subscribe to the podcast on any and all platforms. Today, we're talking about Karrion Kross and his perplexing booking from Jump. I think it's safe to say that Karrion Kross has had a rough time on the main roster, let's say. I'd never watched him in NXT in his bald days, but apparently he was Triple H's guy. He was his top guy down there in quote-unquote developmental. And when Triple H or Vince or whomever decided, hey, let's give him a shot at the main roster. Why did I say whoever? It was Vince. Let's give him a shot on the main roster. It just went absolutely pear-shaped. The rumor I read was that it was Vince kind of taking a shot at Triple H by burying Karrion Kross, sticking him in that weird gladiator getup and the licorice outfit with the god-awful helmet, like he just looked like a bargain basement Halloween character, and then just had him lose all the time and then fired him. It's just an absolute shame. And Triple H decided, let me bring him back almost a year to the day that I'm recording this. Almost. I think he brought him back last in 2022 in around September. And his debut was big. He made a splash. He put the sand dial on the ring and told Roman Reigns, tick-tock, your time is coming, right? And obviously nothing came from that. But from there, even under Triple H's booking, before Vince came back, he was booked in such strange matches, and he had like a strap match with, who was it, Drew McIntyre, that he lost. He's lost like every feud he's had, and I read a comment that said that everyone that he fights turns heel. So it was Nakamura. They're still waiting for Drew to turn. It wasn't a bad take, but it was definitely a stretch to say, oh, he's changing people. I doubt that. But that's fans looking for reasons why his booking was so bad. Recently, he got into a program with AJ Styles. He went 0 for 3 against it. They didn't give him one win over the Phenomenal One. Not one. Not a single one. I think he pinned Carl Anderson. I can't remember. I mean, it's such a blur with his stuff. But he hasn't come out looking great against AJ. And, again, this last match, this past SmackDown, AJ pinned him 1, 2, 3. No, he had no shot. There was no moment in there where we were like, oh my God, he might, pull out a win. Nope. He got Styles clashed, which is a move that is so very difficult to pull off, and he just AJ Styles made him look so light and feathery and just walloped him. Post SmackDown, Karrion Kross released a promo on social media talking about he now sees, or AJ Styles helped him see, the value in brotherhood, because he has the OC, he has Mia Yim, he has a crew, right? So, and then he tells us we'll see what's coming up next. And it's a tease for what people are saying is a new faction. He's going to have quote-unquote disciples. And I was reading Cage Side Seats, one of my favorite wrestling websites, and they do this stock up, stock down thing. Such a brilliant concept, so simple and so effective. And they put the stock down on Karrion Kross and made a really good point by saying, who would want to be disciples of a loser? And that's not saying anything about Karrion Kross's ability to be a wrestler or his gimmick or anything. I think his gimmick is fine. I don't see a reason why he should change it. I think he's a really good wrestler. I think he has an interesting moveset. He just debuted his new finishing move, which is a very complex set of moves all strung together. And yeah, he did. He beat Carl Anderson with that move. I don't remember what it's called. but it's some sort of prayer thing, final prayer or whatever. And so, I mean, he has a little bit of like something. And then he has Scarlett. He has his wife there with him, who's great. She's, a competent wrestler as well. I mean, he has all the tools to do it. And I don't know why they're booking him in such strange manners. I always thought, that's a misnomer. I've thought since last year, at least, when they brought Bray Wyatt back, that those two should team up and be the spooky wooky guys together. Or like the reluctant spooky guys. Kane and Undertaker had their time. They had some, great success apart, but their running storyline of them being brothers, supernatural brothers of, death and fire, was fun. It was a fun, goofy wrestling thing that we all bought into because honestly, The Undertaker took his gimmick extremely seriously, as did Kane. They were very serious about it. And if Karrion Kross and Bray Wyatt had that sort of relationship, not necessarily being brothers, but just being like reluctant, spooky wooky guys together, where they win tag team gold or, they dominate a Royal Rumble together and then, they get into feuds with each other and they can really like bounce off each other in an interesting way, with, Bray Wyatt being the complex psychological dude and then Karrion Kross being the almost like a preacher. He's got this whole gimmick of being some sort of cult leader kind of thing, right? As did Bray. So they kind of orbit each other, but they never combine, right? And with Bray Wyatt recovering from whatever illness he's been suffering from, I hope he does get better. If he comes back, I mean, that is an orbit he needs to get into. I'm sure people would want Bray Wyatt to kind of remain his own thing, but he's at least proven that his one-on-one feuds are a little lackluster, and he kind of needs that other person, right? He needed the Wyatt family. He kind of needed Randy Orton for that whole feud. I think him and Karrion could do some interesting stuff together. Referencing Karrion's potential disciples or faction, I revert back to the question, who wants to pair up with a loser? Why bring on people and stuff them with Karrion Kross? How is that going to help anybody? It's definitely not going to help whoever's debuting as his faction. I read someone say that it might be the Creed brothers from NXT, which, could be interesting. But again, what is it that he's going to bring to this faction that is going to elevate everyone, right? He's a vet, but I don't see... He's a vet with no clout, and it's hard to get it when you have... You know what? Maybe he's going to lean on these 2 disciples or 3 disciples or whomever he's bringing along. Maybe he's going to rack up wins through them, which could be interesting. It could be this, veteran who's pretending like he's mentoring these people, this up and coming group, and it turns out, he's just kind of feeding off their energy and winning, claiming wins as they win. I don't know. Who knows? But the one thing that is true is that there's always room for another good faction in WWE, with Bobby Lashley taking on the Street Profits and maybe Carmelo Hayes. Who knows? And Trick Williams, they haven't referenced those guys in maybe 3 weeks, so maybe they're not part of this thing. But Street Profits and Bobby Lashley, they have their whole 3-person group coming up. Karrion Kross and potentially the Creed brothers or whomever they pair them up with, they could clash together. There's the LWO always needs people. Congratulations to Rey Mysterio winning the U.S. title, who I think is going to drop it to Santos Escobar in a couple weeks. We'll see. Judgment Day still kicking around for a bit. The Bloodline is not fully formed, but Roman and Solo could do some work with someone else. Look, it's a decent idea to pair up Karrion with some other people to just get him in the mix. Maybe get him in the tag mix or something. He definitely needs something because so far his run has been confusing, to say the least. What do you think of Karrion Kross's run so far, and where would you like to see him go? What would you like to see the company do with him? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for listening, and don't you ever forget.
I'm your friend, but if I ever see you in the ring, I can beat you. Don't you know? Yeah, yeah, yeah.